ever brush something off as a coincidence, only for it to, like, bug you for days?
Yeah.
That feeling like, maybe, just maybe, it meant something more.
Right.
Well, that's where we're diving in today with Carl Jung. And Jung believed that those odd coincidences, those synchronicities, they weren't just chance happenings,
Right.
but little glimpses into a whole other realm.
Okay.
The unconscious, a realm that influences our lives more than we realize.
And get this. He wasn't just some fringe theorist.
Right.
Jung was a major figure in psychoanalysis, right alongside Freud.
Though their approaches differed significantly, while Freud focused on repressed memories, childhood experiences, Jung's vision was far more expansive. He dove deep into this concept of the unconscious.
Okay.
Not just on a personal level, but as this shared wellspring of human experience.
Okay, so before we get lost swimming in the collective unconscious, let's back up a bit.
Sure.
Who is Carl Jung, the man behind these fascinating, if slightly mind-bending ideas?
Yeah, he was a man who seemed acutely aware of his own inner workings from a very young age.
Really?
There's this story from a 1959 interview
where
Jung vividly describes this moment at age 11,
11?
when he suddenly became aware of himself, like of his own existence.
Wow, talk about a wake-up call. 11 years old, I was just trying to figure out what kind of Pokemon I was. What's the significance of this early self-awareness for Jung's theories?
Well, it speaks to Jung's concept of the ego, that conscious sense of self that we all develop. But Jung believed this was just the tip of the iceberg. He saw the psyche as multi-layered, with the ego like a small boat navigating this vast, often turbulent ocean of the unconscious.
Okay, I'm starting to see why people are still talking about this guy a century later. But if the ego is just the tip of the iceberg, what exactly lurks beneath the surface?
Beneath the surface lies the personal unconscious.
Okay.
Home to our repressed memories and experiences, those things we've pushed down or chosen to forget.
Right.
Think of those awkward moments you wish you could just erase from your memory.
Oh, yeah.
They don't just disappear.
Yeah.
They take up residence in the personal unconscious.
Like that time I accidentally called my boss Mom in a meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's living rent-free in my personal unconscious for sure. Yeah.
But Jung didn't stop there, did he?
He did not.
There's that whole other layer, the collective unconscious that he's famous for.
Precisely. This is where things get really interesting. Jung believed that beneath the personal unconscious lies this deeper universal layer.
Okay.
Shared by all humanity. He called it the collective unconscious.
So it's like we each have our own personal basement filled with memories.
Yes.
But then there's this giant shared basement underneath where everyone's experiences and ancestral history are stored.
That's a great way to picture it. And within this collective basement, if you will, are what Jung called archetypes, these universal primal patterns of behavior and experience that have been influencing humanity since, well, the dawn of time. Okay, hold on, because this is where my brain usually starts to short circuit.
Sure.
Archetypes. Those are like the blueprints for human behavior.
Exactly.
The recurring characters in the story of humanity.
Precisely. They're the reason why certain myths, symbols, stories, they resonate across cultures and throughout time.
Okay.
Think about the hero's journey, for instance.
Yeah.
It's a narrative that appears in countless cultures because it taps into the archetype of the hero that exists within our collective unconscious.
So these archetypes aren't just abstract ideas. They actually influence how we think, feel, and interact with the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And understanding these archetypes, according to Jung, is crucial for understanding ourselves and our place in the world. It's like he's giving us a map to navigate the hidden landscape of the human psyche.
All right, well, consider me officially intrigued.
Good.
But before we dive into the map itself, there's one more thing I'm curious about with Jung's own story. He didn't have the easiest childhood, did he?
No, he didn't.
Really?
Jung described his mother as problematic.
Oh.
And he even had this deep, unexplainable fear of her at night.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
It seems like these early experiences, even the difficult or confusing ones, played a role in shaping his theories.
Absolutely. Jung's own childhood, particularly his complicated relationship with his parents, really fueled his interest in exploring these hidden forces that shape our personalities and our behaviors.
Yeah, and this is where we start to see those early glimpses of the unconscious at play.
Wow. Exactly. Even Jung himself, as a young boy, couldn't fully grasp the source of his fear toward his mother.
Right.
He knew he was afraid.
Yeah.
But the why remained elusive.
Yeah.
And this pointed to the power of the unconscious.
Okay.
These unseen forces that can influence our emotions and our reactions in ways we don't always understand.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the connection between Jung's life and his work. It's like those early experiences became his own personal laboratory for understanding the human psyche.
Precisely. And it wasn't just his childhood. There's another story.
Okay.
Quite a dramatic one, actually.
Okay.
Involving Jung almost physically attacking a teacher.
What?
Who wrongly accused him of plagiarism.
Wait, Jung got into a brawl with his teacher. That's not exactly something you'd expect from a renowned psychologist.
It certainly adds a layer of complexity to his persona, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And this incident speaks to another key Jungian concept, the shadow.
Okay, I'm both terrified and weirdly excited to hear where this is going.
Yeah.
But before we do, can we take a quick breather?
Of course.
And recap what we've covered so far?
Yeah, we've established that Jung was fascinated by the human psyche, particularly the unconscious.
Oh, okay.
We've dipped our toes into the idea of the personal unconscious, where our repressed memories and experiences reside.
Right.
And we've begun to uncover the vast and mysterious realm of the collective unconscious, where those archetypes, those blueprints for human behavior reside.
And we've hinted at the shadow, which based on that last anecdote sounds like it might be the dark.
It can be.
And stormy part of the unconscious.
That's a very fair assessment.
Yeah.
The shadow is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
And a little more intense.
Well, I'm all for a little intensity. Bring on the shadow.
The shadow isn't just about anger and aggression.
Right.
Those are frequent guests.
Yeah.
It's the part of ourselves we reject.
Yeah.
The qualities we deem unacceptable. You know, whether it's insecurity, jealousy, or even those guilty pleasure TV shows that we don't want to admit we watch.
It's like the junk drawer we try to keep slammed shut.
Right.
Even if it bursts open at the worst possible moments.
Exactly. And just like ignoring a messy drawer doesn't make it disappear.
Yeah.
Jung believed that trying to repress the shadow only makes it stronger.
Okay.
It can even manifest in really unhealthy ways.
Oh, really?
Projecting onto others, fueling addictive behaviors, or erupting in those Jung punching his teacher moments we all hope to avoid.
Okay, so how do we deal with this shadow? Because confront your inner demons sounds a tad dramatic for my Tuesday afternoon.
It's not about wrestling the shadow into submission.
Okay.
But it's about understanding it.
Okay.
Jung believed that by acknowledging and integrating those shadow aspects, we could actually access our full potential.
Okay.
Not just the parts that we deem acceptable.
So it's less about banishing the shadow and more about, like, making friends with it.
Exactly. Think of it like this.
Okay.
We all have this public persona, the face we show the world.
Right.
Jung called this the persona. And it's not inherently good or bad.
Yeah, okay.
It's simply how we navigate these social situations.
It's like our social media profiles, carefully curated to show only the best angles and witty captions.
Exactly.
But what happens when we spend so much time crafting that perfect persona that we lose touch with the real, messy, beautifully human parts of ourselves underneath?
That's where the shadow can start to rumble.
Okay.
And this is where Jung diverges from that good vibes only approach.
Okay.
He believed that true wholeness comes from integrating all parts of ourselves, the light and the shadow, into a cohesive whole.
This is starting to sound a lot less like psychology and more like a hero's journey.
Okay.
We've got our protagonist, the ego, venturing into the depths of the unconscious, facing down the shadow. Is there a magical sword involved at any point?
You might say self-awareness is the closest thing to a magic sword in Jungian psychology.
Okay.
And speaking of journeys, Jung believed that the path to individuation, to becoming a fully realized individual, involves confronting not just our shadow, but also those aspects of ourselves that we associate with the opposite gender.
Okay, we're going even deeper now. You're talking about the anima and animus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Jung observed that within each of us, regardless of our biological sex, there exist both masculine and feminine qualities.
Okay.
He called the feminine archetype within men the anima.
Okay.
And the masculine archetype within women, the animus.
Now, this is something I've always found both intriguing and a little confusing.
Yeah.
So it's not about trying to be more masculine or feminine in the traditional sense,
Right.
but about recognizing and integrating those energies within ourselves?
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Jung believed that ignoring these contrasexual aspects of ourselves leads to imbalance.
Okay. How so?
For example, a man who over-identifies with his masculine side might struggle to express his emotions.
Oh, okay.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a woman who only embraces her feminine side might hold back her ambition or her assertiveness, fearing that it makes her too masculine.
It's like we're expanding the cast of characters in our inner world.
Yes.
Each archetype adding another layer of depth.
Right.
And complexity. We've got the persona, the shatter, the animus, animus. But who is directing this play anyway?
That would be the self.
Okay.
The ultimate archetype, the center of the Jungian universe, if you will.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The self isn't a fixed destination.
Okay.
But an ongoing process of becoming.
So it's not like we reach a certain level of self-awareness and boom, we've achieved like self-actualization and get a gold star?
Not quite.
Yeah.
Jung believed that the self is something we strive towards throughout our lives.
Okay.
A process of continually integrating all aspects of ourselves.
Yeah.
The conscious and unconscious, the masculine and feminine, the light and the shadow.
Right.
Into this cohesive whole.
Okay, but how do we even begin to navigate this inner landscape? It's starting to feel a bit like uncharted territory.
That's where Jung's concept of active imagination comes in.
Active imagination?
Yeah, he encouraged his patients to engage with their unconscious.
Okay.
Through creative practices, like journaling, dream analysis, even painting or sculpting.
So it's about finding ways to communicate with those deeper parts of ourselves.
Exactly.
To bring those unconscious patterns and archetypes into the light of awareness.
Exactly. And it's through this process of active engagement with the unconscious that those aha moments, those synchronicities we discussed earlier, often occur.
You mean those weird coincidences that Jung believed weren't just random events?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Jung saw synchronicities as meaningful coincidences.
Yeah.
Like messages from the unconscious trying to guide us towards wholeness.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the interconnectedness of all these Jungian concepts.
Yeah.
It's like every element of his theory builds upon the last, creating this intricate web of meaning.
Yes.
But I have to admit, the idea of synchronicity still throws me a bit.
Sure.
Do you have an example that might help me wrap my head around it?
Of course, one classic example is the story of the scarab beetle.
Okay.
One of Jung's patients was recounting a dream about a piece of jewelry with a scarab beetle.
Yeah.
And at that very moment, a real scarab beetle flew into Jung's window.
Whoa, okay, that's pretty spooky. Wow. But Jung wouldn't call it spooky, would he?
No.
He'd say it was a meaningful coincidence.
Yes.
A message from the unconscious.
Precisely.
Right.
Jung believed that synchronicities often occur during times of transition.
Okay.
Uncertain.
Right. Or when we're on the verge of like a major life change. Yeah. It's like the unconscious is trying to communicate with us to offer guidance or support.
So it's less about predicting the future and more about paying attention to those seemingly insignificant moments.
Right.
That might hold deeper meaning.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that the meaning of a synchronicity is often deeply personal.
Okay.
What might seem like a bad omen to one person could be a sign of opportunity for another.
It's like those ink blot tests where everyone sees something different based on their own unique perspective.
Exactly. And that's what makes Jungian psychology so fascinating. It's an invitation to explore the subjective nature of our experiences.
Yeah.
And to find meaning in the seemingly random events of our lives. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
From the depths of the shadow to the intricacies of the animus and those mind-bending synchronicities.
Right.
But I have a feeling we haven't reached the summit of this Jungian mountain just yet, have we?
You're right.
Yeah.
We've still got a bit of climbing to do.
Okay.
You're right. We've still got a bit of climbing to do. Remember that concept of the self we touched upon earlier?
Yeah.
That's the peak we're aiming for.
The ultimate goal.
Yeah.
The big kahuna.
Yes.
The fully realized individual, that self.
Exactly. But it's not so much a destination as it is a journey. It's a process of continually striving towards wholeness.
Right.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Every time we confront a shadow aspect of ourselves, every time we acknowledge and integrate a new part of our psyche, we're taking another step towards that peak.
So it's not about achieving some perfect airbrushed version of ourselves,
right?
But about embracing all the messy, contradictory, and often unexpected parts of who we are.
That's the heart of it.
Okay.
Jung believed that true wholeness comes from accepting and integrating all aspects of ourselves, not just the ones that we like or we find like socially acceptable.
You know, it's interesting. We often talk about like finding ourselves.
Right.
Like it's a singular event.
Right.
We quit our jobs, travel the world, and boom, there we are.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you is that it's not about finding this fixed version of ourselves, but about continually evolving and expanding our understanding of who we are.
Right. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
And while it might sound daunting, there's also this sense of liberation in that. It means that we're never really stuck.
Okay.
There's always room for growth, for change, for becoming more fully ourselves.
It's like we're constantly adding new chapters to our own personal hero's journey.
Yes.
With all the twists and turns and unexpected plot points that come with it.
Exactly.
But knowing that we have this internal compass, this drive towards wholeness, can make those twists and turns feel a little less daunting.
And that's ultimately what Jung offers.
Okay.
A framework for understanding ourselves. And navigating the complexities of, well, being human, right? His concepts, like the shadow, the animus, even those strange synchronicities, they're like tools we can use to make sense of our experiences and to move towards a more fulfilling life.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
I get that all this internal work,
Yeah.
this exploration of the unconscious, it's important for our own personal growth.
Right.
But does it have any relevance to the outside world?
Right.
Can understanding Jungian psychology actually make us better partners, friends, even just more engaged citizens?
Absolutely. Remember, Jung believed that by understanding our own psyche,
Right.
we can better understand the world around us.
Okay.
When we've done the work of confronting our own shadow, for example,
Yeah,
we're less likely to project our own darkness onto others.
that makes sense.
And when we recognize the archetypes of play in society, we can start to challenge those patterns and create a more just and equitable world.
So it's like that saying,
Yes.
be the change you wish to see in the world. But Jung would say, before you change the world, understand yourself.
Precisely. And that's perhaps the most powerful takeaway from Jung's work.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to this lifelong journey of self-discovery.
Right.
And one that has the potential to not only transform our own lives, but also to ripple outwards, creating positive change in the world around us.
Well said.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a renewed sense of curiosity.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little more courage to explore those hidden corners of my own psyche.
Yeah.
It's been quite the journey, this deep dive into the world of Carl Jung.
The journey's never truly over, is it?
That's right. That's right.
There's always more to uncover, more to understand.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it all.
So to our listeners, we leave you with this. What resonated with you most in this deep dive?
Yes.
Was it the idea of integrating your shadow?
Yeah.
Did the concept of synchronicities spark your curiosity? Whatever it may be, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deeper into the fascinating world within and all around you.